work with Google on using AI to try to interrupt cyber hate before it happens. We work with YouTube to get them to change their algorithms so it lessens the likelihood that a young person's going to run into some of these anti-Semitic conspiratorial videos. We work with Facebook on trying to use a redirect method, so when you search for Holocaust as a hoax, you get directed to like a Yad Vashem page. So there are different ways they can tweak their algorithms and adjust their products so they think not only about free speech, not only protect a user's right to free speech, but protect a user's right to not be harassed or hated. They have done some good things to deal with very specific cases by taking swifter action when people perpetrate online bullying or online harassment. Washington, you know, there's a gap in the legal regime. There are techniques that extremists have used online to terrorize Jews and other people, like doxing and swatting and different forms of cyberbullying that are not covered by existing laws and need to be. Because the school principal says, well, it's not. No one has a bloody nose, right? But in fact, the abuse online can be far, far worse than anything physical. So, we need legislators to catch up and to fill some of the gaps.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and double salutations to all you Akim out there laboring in the house of David, the elect, that's pushing this word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And I had a couple of quick points on this anti-you-know-what campaign that's going out. It's all spiritual, all right? We are really at the point where you can no longer question anything that these people do, okay? They're really doing this. And this is how you know, again, that the famine of the word is moving quickly, all right? And I want to make some points because, again, this anti-you-know-what campaign is really a covering for these Edomites, and I'm going to make that point in a minute. But going back to this article here, which I had brought this out in a lesson before, it's back in 2024. The headline, it reads, it says, Israel launching sinister Z-plot to erase the First Amendment in the name of stopping anti-you-know-what. All right, let's read this real quick, and I'm going to get to the more current article. All right, but this article that I'm about to bring out as well, it reminded me of what I read about this, last year. It says the Z, right? The Z lobby is dumping lots of cash into a nationwide effort to redefine anti-you-know-what in the United States law and make it illegal for Americans to oppose Israel. See, that's what it's all about anyway. Okay, the famine of the word is going to come behind these devils. All right, it says, in response to rising anti-war protests across America, Israeli Minister of Diaspora Affairs, Amichai Shikli, was summoned by the Israeli parliament to brief lawmakers, right? To brief lawmakers about what they can try to do to stop Americans, especially those at college and university campuses, from speaking out against the genocide in Gaza. See, that's the main thing that's been going on. People all over the planet have been in outrage of what's been going on. And the news is still coming out that these people are killing the journalists. All right, they're killing innocent people out there. It's not going to stop. It's a full bloodbath, as they said, right? It says, and this is what's really bringing the heat on them, right? But it says, I quote, I said it before and I'll say it again, now that I think we should, especially in the United States, be on the offensive, right? Chickley said, it says, even though he's not an American citizen and has never been elected by any Americans to represent them, Chickley and others in the Israeli government feel as though they have a, quote, a God-given right to push the world around in order to suit their own interests, right? And this is what it is. Okay, this This anti-you-know-what thing is a heavy burden upon the people who question, the motives behind these small hats. All right. It says Chickley assured the room full of Israeli politicians that Israel has, quote, new money and in its budget to launch a pushback campaign against Americans who vocally and publicly oppose Israel's genocide in Gaza, right? And it's deeper than that. And I want to make a point on that. Let me go to the article now, all right? Because you heard what the Edomite, what's his name, Jonathan Greenblatt. That's what he said in the intro, all right? He's like the head of the ADL, right? But here's the article that I want to get to real quick, all right? So this is from News Target. It says, the headline, it says, ADL touts Trump administration taking up their anti-you-know-what complaints against Yale and others, right? So let's read a little bit of this and I'll grab the scriptures here. But it says the Anti-Defamation League, which is the ADL, is thrilled with the Trump administration for taking up their Title VI, all right? Remember, his number is associated with that 6, Spiritual. It says Title VI anti-you-know-what complaints against Yale University, University of Massachusetts, Amherst, and Scripps College. All right, let's jump down. All right, I just want to get to the point here. All right, so it says the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, OCR, is opening investigations into complaints filed by the Louis D. Brandeis Center for Human Rights under Law and Anti-Defamation League, ADL, against Yale University, University of Massachusetts Amherst, and Scripps College. In addition, the department is opening complaints against American University filed by the Brandeis Center and Jayish on Campus, JOC, in the Fulton County School District filed by the Brandeis Center and the National Jayish Advocacy Center for allegations of anti-you-know-what against students. Now, here's the point here, okay, which is highlighted in the black. So it says there has been some concern around what changes the Department of Education would mean for fighting campus in K through 12 on anti-you-know-what. It says we are pleased to see the department continuing to move forward rapidly on Title VI complaints, and in some cases there are well exceeding historical norms for prompt action, said Honorable Kenneth L. Marcus, chairman of the Brandeis Center and the former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Education who ran OCR during 2 administrations. It says, quote, while the anti-you-know-what task force, see, they have an anti-you-know-what task force, right? That's how serious it is. While the anti-you-know-what task force is investigating 10 campuses and OCR has warned 60 of them, the federal government has the bandwidth and the will to expand its investigations well past the initial campuses, and they are clearly just getting started. These public-private partnerships remain vital. So these devils have public and private partnerships, to combat what they deem as anti-you-know-what. Right? So let me get these scriptures and I want to make this point here. This is Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah chapter 49. In verse 10, it says, but I have made Esau bare. And this is what the Lord is doing in these end times. Okay, he has made the Edomite completely bare. All right, it says, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled in his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. So the point here, the Lord said, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. Let's get this word for secret places here, because this is what I was thinking about. It's all spiritual, right? So that word for secret places in the Hebrew is masathar. All right, masathar in the Hebrew for secret places, right? So it says secret place, hiding place. It says hiding place for protection, for perpetration of crime. All right, so really this whole banner of what they deem anti-you-know-what is a hiding place for these Edomites, man. It's basically a secret place, a covering to protect his true identity from being revealed. Okay, that's really what it's really about. You see, it says for protection, for perpetration of crime, especially murder. All right, Esau is a murderer. All right, and we're gonna get that too. But that's the point. He's trying to cover himself with this banner of anti, you know what. And just to make the point some more, all right, I was looking this up, and the Spirit had me come across this on that website, on the ADL, right? So check this out. Edom, Edomites, Esau. All right, and you can type in key terms and it'll pop up. But I was actually hitting this in the on the search engine, and you know, I pulled this up. So it says Edom, Edomites, Esau. It says Edom, Edomites, or Esau are terms used by the Hebrew Israelites, right? These are terms used by the Hebrew Israelites to refer to people whom they believe to be enemies of the Most High, and whom they describe as having descended from the biblical figure Esau. References are used as insults to show clear racial differences. Blacks are believed to be the chosen race, while Esau's descendants are cursed by the Most High. All right, and this is true, right? It says the term is also used by white supremacist adherents of the racist and anti-you-know-what religious sect Christian identity to refer to the Jays. All right, because this is really what it's about right here. Okay, again, this campaign of the anti-you-know-what is a covering. It's a hiding place. It's a secret place to keep Esau's, you know, identity from being revealed. All right, this is a power move for these devils. Right, it says adherents claim Jays are descended from Esau, Edom, rather than the ancient Israelites. And this is true. And this is what's being talked about around the world. These people don't fit the prophecies. All right. They have no rights to that land that they're in right now. All right. This is what they're talking about. And on top of that, the genocide that's going on over there against those people. You see, it says Jays are descended from Esau, Edom, rather than the ancient Israelites. Christian identity followers argue ancient Israelites were actually the forebears of white Europeans, which is all BS. All right. So this is the core or the foundation of this thing, man. Okay. Remember, these devils are seriously hurt. All right. Behind this word going out. So this is another way, again, of him hiding himself. All right. Like I said, a perpetration of crime, as we read, especially murder. All right. Esau's that murderer. He's that fugitive. Right. Let's get that too. Because we're in a time of the sons of the wicked being exposed. Okay, his time is pretty much up. This is Genesis 4. We'll start here at verse and then we'll go back to that article. This is Genesis 4, and let's start at verse 9. Genesis 4 and 9. All right, going all the way back to Cain and Abel, because these Edomites are the descendants of Cain, man. Okay, these are the descendants of the serpent, man, the sons of the wicked, right? Genesis 4 and 9, it says, "And the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper?" Right. So after Cain slew his brother as Cain slew his brother Abel, all right, he was he tried to get smart with the Lord, basically, right? You know, because Cain, you know, he's a murderer, he's a liar, right? It says, verse 10, it says, "And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground," right? You know, it says, because Abel's spirit was crying out pretty much for what Cain did against him, right? Verse 11, it says, "And now art thou cursed from the earth, which has opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand." Verse 12, the point here, it says, and without tillest the ground, it should not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. So again, going back to Cain, you know, he was a murderer from the beginning. He's a fugitive. You know, he's been on the run for centuries, man. Right? The Lord said you would be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. All right? You wouldn't have a true a homeland, basically. All right? It says, read it on. It says, verse 13, and Cain said unto the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Verse 14, it says, behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And we're in that time right now, okay, of the basically the wicked being identified and being revealed, and now these nations are rising up against him and they want to slay him. You see, he can't hide behind this. He can't hide behind this this BS no more. Right? Let's pull that up real quick for that word fugitive. Let's pull that up. See what it says in the dictionary. All right, real quick. Fugitive. It said he would be a fugitive. Let's spell that. Here we go. Fugitive definition. It says running away or fleeing as from the law, right? As relating to fugitives, it says lasting only a short time, fleeting, all right? And that's spiritual too. That his rule was only for a short period of time. Okay, he's been on a run. Now he's in a time where he's being caught. It says given to change or disappearance, perishable, of temporary interest, wandering or tending to wander, a vagabond, all right? And that's these Edomites today, right? Let's go back. It says, yeah, and that's the point. So again, he's being found out, all right? That anti, you know what, is just a false covering, man. All right, to try to protect his identity as being the biblical Edomites, man. That's just what it is at this point. All right. So going back to that read again, because like I said earlier, these are the people that are going to usher in quickly that famine of the word. All right. And they're going to use this thing right here. All right. To do it. It's all about them stopping the people for questioning, speaking about anything that these devils do. All right. Because the scripture said that we would have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Let me get that too. Right. Because these are the Amalekites. All right. Exodus 17 and 16, it says, for he said, because the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai have sworn that the Lord Yahweh Shemel Shai will have war with Amalek from generation to generation, right? So we're still at war with these people now. But now it's an information war. All right? See, these devils are losing that information war. They're losing control of the narrative. That's why we heard the guy Greenblatt at the beginning. That's why he was talking about in the video here that they got, partnerships and deals with YouTube and the big tech platforms to stop any forms of what they deem as hate. All right. Anybody that's speaking against these people is the point, right? Let's read a little bit more. All right. It says, quote, we welcome the Department of Education's move to open investigations into the ADL and the Brandy Center joint filings at UMass Amherst and Yale Universities and Scripps College, said ADL VP of the National Litigation, James Passac. It says, quote, the experiences of the Jewish students at these institutions have been emblematic of what we have seen across the country, and that must change. And it must change now. Jewish students are being threatened, harassed, in some instances assaulted, have no place on our campuses, and we hope those investigations will yield positive changes that reverberates on campuses coast to coast. Okay, and the rest reads on. All right, so you get the point on where all of this is headed, man. Okay, these are the people that are going to really usher in this famine. Okay, all right. This is the 2nd Ezra 6 and 19. It says, and I will begin to make inquisition of them. What they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. So we're in a time of the Israelites, the true Israelites, being delivered from the hands of the wicked. All right. And in that time, the wicked again would be exposed. And that's why we bring this out often, dealing with that Inquisition. All right. There's a heavy Inquisition going on against these people that claim to be the true biblical Israelites. Right. That definition, Inquisition, it says the act of inquiring into a matter, an investigation. You see, so there's a thorough investigation that's going out against the matters by these people. All right. So what are they doing? They're doing everything to cover their tracks. All right. They're putting laws in place where you can't question. You can no longer question anything that these devils do. All right. You can't question their identity, who they really go back to. All right. This is all part, as you see, the censorship that's coming. All right. So Amalek is going to have a heavy hand into bringing in this famine of the word. All right. The Inquisition, that investigation. All right. People are talking about you don't belong in the land. They're seeing what's going on in Gaza. All right. Who these people really are according to the Bible. All right. So on and so forth. All right. So that covering basically. All right. That, that immunity, if you will, as Cain once had, is being removed. That covering is being lifted off. You see, Esau can't hide himself no more. The Lord is revealing his secret places. All right. Let me get another one real quick. All right. Just rolling in spirit. Romans 9. Okay. Romans 9 and 11. And it reads, it says, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of the Most High, according to the election, might stand not of works, but of him that calleth. Right. And see, Israel was the chosen line. Okay. And see, the children not yet being born, talking about who? Esau and Jacob. All right. It was already established that Jacob would be the chosen line, the chosen seed. All right. It says, verse 12, and it was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger. Right. Esau is going to serve Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. All right. Genesis, chapter 27. All right. It says, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. All right. And that's just what it is. Okay. Jacob was the chosen. Okay. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with the Most High? God forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it's not him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai that showeth mercy. Right. And so the Most High is the one that chose Jacob. All right. To be heir to receive of the birthright, as it was written. All right. So that's pretty much the point, man. You get what's going on. All right. Amalek is definitely about to bring in this famine quickly. All right. And they're going to use the as the hammer to get it done. All right. To hide himself. That's that covering again. All right. So I pray this quick lesson was edifying, and shalom to the next one. Shalom.